Good evening. As the violence escalates in Ukraine, the UN has estimated more than 600,000 civilians have fled the country. However, a Scot who remains there with his family says they're trapped because it's too dangerous to leave their bunker. Here, aid efforts are also stepping up to help families fleeing the violence. Our political correspondent Ewan Petrie reports.
In Ukraine's second city, a missile strike on a government building left a scene of devastation. For those living in Kharkiv, there is little option but to take shelter.
I'm thirsty. I would like a hot meal. I haven't showered or really changed my clothes because the shelling happens out of the blue during the night.
Sean has been attempting to escape the city with his wife and 2-year-old son, but leaving their bunker is just too dangerous.
You might be able to hear in the distance an air sirens just went off, so I'll probably need to go. Okay, goodbye.
As the violence escalates in Ukraine, so too do the aid efforts here. Hundreds of bags have already been handed in to this Hindu temple in Glasgow.
We're looking for mainly women's supplies, children's supplies, first aid kits, torches, emergency kits would be great, duvets and blankets. Oh, it's a heavy one.
Local efforts are also gaining momentum. An appeal for baby boxes has led to donations at more than 20 sites around the country.
The videos of the mums just with babies strapped to them in pushchairs, and then there's just rubble everywhere. I just couldn't imagine even
you feel guilty enjoying your nice warm home. You know, so even simple things in life, watching your TV, I just cannot get that image out of my head. So the reason we've all came together is to help and make that image a wee bit nicer.
The challenge now is getting these boxes to families fleeing Ukraine.
We're trying to piggyback onto some of the places that are already going out, but they're full now, so we really are desperately looking to research, transportation.
Small parcels, they hope, make a big difference. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
Boris Johnson flew to Poland today with a message that he will make it easier for Ukrainians living in the UK to bring their relatives over to safety. But as the Prime Minister held a news conference in Warsaw, he was accused by a Ukrainian woman of being afraid to defend innocent people from Russian attacks. Live now to our Westminster correspondent Catherine Sampson. And Catherine, an extraordinary exchange today.
Yes, the Prime Minister flew to Poland and to Estonia. He really wanted to praise the bravery of the Ukrainian people, but for one woman in the audience in Poland, that really wasn't enough. Now, understandably, she was upset. She has just fled her own home country, and she wanted to challenge the Prime Minister about NATO's decision not to declare a no-fly zone over Ukraine.
You're coming to Poland. You're not coming to Kiev, Prime Minister. You're not coming to Lviv because you are afraid, because NATO is not willing to defend, because NATO is afraid of World War III, but it is already started. And these are Ukrainian children who are there taking the hit. I see that my family members, that my team members are saying that we are crying. We don't have where to run.
The UK and would be engaged in shooting down Russian planes, would be engaged in direct combat with Russia. That's not something that we can do or that we've envisaged. And I think the consequences of that would be truly very, very difficult to control.
Now, the Prime Minister went on to describe what he believes the UK can do to help, and that includes taking in around 200,000 Ukrainian refugees. Now, yesterday we were given a figure by the Home Secretary, 100,000, but in the meantime, a scheme to allow Ukrainians who are settled here to bring over family members has been expanded, and there's proposals too for this new route for Ukrainians who do not have family ties. Now, that is not enough for the First Minister tonight. In the last half hour, we learned she's written to Boris Johnson. She is calling for him to follow the EU and to waive visas for all Ukrainians. That's something the Home Secretary has refused to do because she says there's a security risk.
Catherine in Westminster, thank you. Other stories across Scotland, and a judge has given the go-ahead for sex abuse survivors to launch a multi-million-pound lawsuit against Celtic Football Club. The 22 men claim they were sexually assaulted when playing for Celtic Boys Club and are seeking compensation. The Parkhead side say the youth set-up and the main club were separate entities and the action should not proceed. Hundreds of jobs have been lost after one of the UK's largest producers of seafood entered administration. Dawn French Seafoods, which employs 200 people at its Uddingston site, turned staff away as they arrived for work this morning. The company owns numerous fish farms across Scotland and Northern Ireland, with processing facilities in Uddingston as well as Arbroath. The First Minister has described the signing of rapist David Goodwillie by Clyde Football Club as wrong. The striker sparked outrage when he moved from the club to Raith Rovers earlier this year. He has now returned to Clyde on loan. Rape Crisis Scotland have called it a shameful decision. The waiting time performance in Scotland's emergency departments has dropped to the second worst on record. According to new figures, just under 70% of patients were seen and discharged within 4 hours. The Scottish Government currently has a target of 95% of patients being seen within that time. The family of Sheku Bayo, who died in police custody, say they are bitterly disappointed at what's been called a demand for a convoluted form of immunity for officers who give evidence at a public inquiry into his death. A preliminary hearing last month heard that some officers could refuse to answer questions about the 31-year-old's death if it would be later used against them in legal proceedings. Scotland's Finance Secretary says the country must be ruthless in its pursuit of a new 10-year plan for economic growth. Kate Forbes unveiled the National Strategy for Economic Transformation in Dundee. It has 5 key programmes, including promoting investment and exports, business startups and green energy technologies. However, the STUC described the strategy as a missed opportunity.
The strategy builds on Scotland's success in entrepreneurialism, ensuring that we enable all of Scotland's people to build and to grow businesses. It focuses on improving productivity through exports, and it also ensures that we have a skilled workforce by providing people with access to reskilling and retraining opportunities.
Violinist Nicola Benedetti has been appointed as the new director of the Edinburgh International Festival. The 34-year-old is the first Scot and the first woman to take on the role and will start in October after this year's events. To football, Rangers manager Giovanni van Bronckhorst admits he's frustrated with Aaron Ramsey's lack of game time, but says the player is working hard to return as soon as possible. Elsewhere, Celtic will take part in a 4-team tournament in Australia in November during the break for the World Cup. With that and the rest of today's football news, here's Ronnie Charters.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
He arrived with a fanfare, but Aaron Ramsey has yet to hit the heights at Rangers. The on-loan Juventus midfielder has only managed 94 minutes since his move in January and has been ruled out of tomorrow's trip to St Johnstone.
Of course, we wanted Aaron to be involved more than he is now, but the most disappointed is Aaron himself. But it's football. You almost never get the ideal scenario as a coach.
Over at Celtic, as they prepare to face St Mirren, the club confirmed they'll be taking part in a 4-team tournament in Australia, whilst the Premiership stops for the World Cup in November.
I know how big this football club is back home, and for me to go back there as the manager of it, it's it'll be emotional. There's a lot of guys that I kind of grew up with or shared a dressing room with who are diehard Celtic supporters, and they're going to see their mate bringing their team down under it.
Meanwhile, Hibs are set to be without Kevin Nisbet for a number of weeks after picking up a knee injury in the draw against Celtic. He's awaiting scan results, with Sean Maloney admitting it's a difficult time with injuries.
I don't think I've ever seen or been involved in a team that's had this much. On the other hand, it's gave a lot of young players a lot of opportunity, and the last few weeks they've really risen to the challenge. I have to coach them in a way that I have to push to sustain the performances that they're giving me.
And finally, Motherwell midfielder Barry Maguire will miss the rest of the season after undergoing surgery on a quad injury. Ronnie Charters, STV News.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Now, Sean has the weather forecast.
A cold snap is on the way. TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Oh, it's been a delightful day out there, hasn't it? Lovely sunshine, and it is officially the start of spring. Well, meteorologically speaking, for most of us, the spring that most of us recognise, proper 20th of March. Still got a few weeks to go. And also remember, it is this month that our clocks will spring forward. We gain that extra hour of evening light. And talking of daylight, well, we'll gain between now and the end of May about 8 hours of daylight, so some significant changes on the way in the next couple of months. And of course our temperatures will be heading for the 20s, I expect, within the next month or so as well. Now, for the time being, with those clear skies around, it's going to be another cold and frosty one. Temperatures widely down to around freezing, maybe -2, -3 in northern parts. Now, we've got a bit of a change on the way tomorrow. We start off early on with sunshine for many of us, but we'll start to see cloud coming into the Lothians, also around the borders, Dumfries and Galloway, South Lanarkshire through the morning, and through the day that spreads its way northwards. So a sunny start for most of us, and then cloudy and rather damp by the end of the afternoon, especially so in the west. And also little wind arrows starting to appear once again, turning increasingly windy across the Hebrides. Highs about 8 degrees Celsius. Then as we head into Thursday, we've got a lot of cloud and outbreaks of rain, but we'll see brighter and drier weather coming in from the west. And the good news is Saturday and Sunday, the weather's looking mostly dry with sunny spells. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
And finally, Olympic gold medal holder Vicky Wright returned to her day job today as Forth Valley Royal Hospital laid on a hero's welcome with balloons, banners and cake marking the curling champion's triumphant return. Staff and patients were delighted to see the Scottish star back in the ward, with one rather bling addition to her uniform getting a lot of attention, as Laura Boyd found out.
A glorious welcome as the Golden Girl returned. Staff at Forth Valley Royal Hospital pulled out all the stops today as Olympic curling champion Vicky Wright swapped ice for ice packs and went back to her day job as a nurse.
I had honestly the most amazing welcome. The tears, I see Lisa's face and I was like, don't you make me cry. But it's just so nice to be back to see everyone.
The ward is a world away from the Beijing Olympics, where on the 20th of February, Vicky was part of Team GB, who took gold.
It is the most bizarre experience that you finally achieved your dream. And still now I'm like, can somebody pinch me because I can't believe this is actually true.
But despite the success, Vicky has no plans to give up her part-time nursing job just yet.
It keeps me very grounded. If I'm having a bad day on ice, I come into work and think how grateful I am. There's people out there so much worse off than me, and I love my job and I'm very lucky that I've found something I love in life to do, and yeah, I'm definitely come back here and enjoy it.
I was just so happy for her, just because like the work she's put in, and we were saying that earlier, like she used to do night shifts and go to the rink to like train and things, so to see it pay off, like we were delighted, everybody was over the moon.
Patients today were thrilled to be tended to by an Olympic star.
Once in a lifetime thing. Aye, once in a lifetime, great. Aye, bonny lassie, nice lassie.
Even more so when they found out she's made the cover of a certain celebrity magazine.
Hello magazine? Oh, hey, she's going to be worth thousands. Hey, she's going to be worth thousands. Good for her. On you go, Anne. On you go.
Laura Boyd, STV News.
On you go, Vicky, indeed. And the team skip, Eve Muirhead, will be speaking to Rona in Scotland tonight at 10:40. That's it from us tonight. From all of us, thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.